The King's Avatar, Chapter 1599 Extremely Far vs. Extremely Close. Audio source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1599, Extremely Far vs. Extremely Close. Translator, Noam Yummy. Editor, Noam Yummy. Liu Boyuan had once given an amazing performance in the Season 8 finals between Samsara and Blue Rain. He had been a huge reason for Samsara's first championship trophy. After that year's finals, Liu Boyuan's fame soared. In the All-Star voting the next year, he placed 13th, replacing the previous All-Star grappler player, Li Yui, a former Tiny Urban current Team 301 player. From then on, Liu Boyuan stood at the peak of his class. As for Li Yui, he had once been an All-Star as well, but because of the transfer, he quickly disappeared from everyone's sights. The title of number 1 grappler became uncontested. This season, Liu Boyuan had successfully entered the All-Stars again. Although it wasn't high, only 22nd, anyone who made it into All-Stars was one of Glory's most popular players. Moreover, Samsara had invited another top player, Sun Shang, into the team, along with a legendary character like One Autumn Leaf to accompany him. As a result, there was a lot of competition within Samsara's fanbase for who got the votes. Liu Boyuan squeezing into the ranks of the 24 All-Stars wasn't easy. If he was less skilled or less popular, the other stars on Samsara might have taken away the spotlight from him. Zhou Zikai, Sun Shang, Zhang Boteo. These three Samsara players placed above 10th on the All-Star rankings. Their fourth All-Star, the 22nd Liu Boyuan, was put as Samsara's third player in the group arena. The crowd cheered and clapped, showing how popular he was. The players on Samsara were making their existence known one after the other to let everyone understand that they weren't just a one-man team. The match began amidst the applause. Because of Suma Chung's perfect victory in the last fight, both sides were at full health. Dancing Rain had used up a bit of mana, but it was more than enough to last another 1v1 fight. There was practically no difference in their conditions going into the fight. On the other hand, their classes were as different as they could be. This main difference was their range. Launchers had the longest range out of any class. As for grapplers, even among the fighter classes, grapplers had 2/3 the attack range of strikers, who specialized in close combat. Not only did they need to land a hit on their opponent, they need to grab their opponent. In order to deal damage to their opponents, they need to be at point-blank range. The atmosphere in the stadium was quite good. On the other hand, the commentators, Pan Lin and Li Yibo, were in a not-so-good mood. Their faces had been slapped too hard. They still talked about the battle between the longest range and shortest range classes, cleverly shifting the topic to a discussion between classes rather than a discussion between players. That way, there would be no way for their faces to get slapped. It was a safe plan. Soon, the two characters met at the center of the cave. Suma Chung didn't hesitate. Dancing Rain immediately fired at him. Liu Boyuan didn't hesitate either and dodged. Facing heavy gunfire from a launcher, it would be hard for him to force his way through. However, Liu Boyuan didn't plan on doing that. After locating Dancing Rain, he began to survey his surroundings. When Dancing Rain started shooting at him, he had already planned out a route in his head. His chaotic cloudy mountain quickly hid behind a stalagmite. Stalactites and stalagmites were scattered around Dripstone Cave. In the previous fight, even though Zhang Boteo was finished off by Suma Chung with one combo, he had showed a deep understanding of the map. If not for Suma Chung's electronic eye, it was hard to say how that fight would have turned out. Zhang Boteo had utilized the map well, and Liu Boyuan wouldn't be any less familiar with it than him. However, compared to Zhang Boteo, he knew about Suma Chung's electronic eye, so he was naturally on guard against it. Electronic eye was a small robot about the size of a ping-pong ball. If it just floated in the air the entire time, it wouldn't be too hard to notice, but in the last match, Soo Much-ung had the electronic eye drop down to a certain spot, making it much harder to see. The broadcast also knew that Soo Much-ung had this skill up her sleeve, so they kept a close watch by displaying her point of view as the main viewpoint. Before, they had only given a smaller screen in the corner. As a result, they hadn't noticed the electronic eye interface until the replay. This time, the broadcast was mindful of it. However, Soo Much-ung hadn't used electronic eye even when Lee Boyuan hid behind the stalagmite. She didn't hurry and send out the electronic eye to scout around. Instead, Dancing Rain moved to the side to see if she could find Chaotic Cloudy Mountain from a different angle. With a turn, she was able to see half of Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's body. Dancing Rain immediately started shooting. Lee Boyuan had been paying attention to her though. He shrunk back and retreated. Dancing Rain continued to fire as she pulled away. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had retreated quickly, but Dancing Rain had promptly followed after him. Soon, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain circled halfway around the stalagmite. On the other hand, for Dancing Rain to circle around that far, she would have to cover much more distance. If the two decided to spin around this stalagmite, Dancing Rain's radius would be 10 times that of Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's. How was she going to keep up? As a result, Dancing Rain stopped. She aimed away from Chaotic Cloudy Mountain and fired. The flames from the explosion burst forth in front of the stalagmite. Soo Much-ung wanted to use the AoE from launcher attacks to hit him. Even though her attacks wouldn't directly hit Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, they would still deal some damage. Unless Lee Boyuan wanted to just sit there and take damage, he would certainly expose himself sooner or later. Soo Much-ung's plan was quite good, but it had been within Lee Boyuan's expectations. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain didn't stick close to the stalagmite. He was using it more as a way to block Soo Much-ung's line of sight rather than to block her attacks. How much of Soo Much-ung's vision was blocked depended on the distance between them. Lee Boyuan had a good grasp of this dead angle for Dancing Rain's previous position. He was using the dead angle to hide and move. Amidst the explosions, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had used the dead angle to get behind a different stalagmite. However, the viewers noticed that Soo Much-ung had finally used electronic eye. She didn't use it to scout AEAD but to circle around that stalagmite. That stalagmite blocking Soo Much-ung's vision was also blocking Lee Boyuan's vision. She took advantage of that fact and quietly advanced as she attacked. WuxiaWorldAudio.com. Soon, the electronic eye got behind the stalagmite. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had already left. The electronic eye circled around 2 times, locating the next stalagmite that Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was hiding behind. Dancing Rain continued to move silently, but her movements had clearly quickened. This time, when she sent out the electronic eye, she didn't have it scout AEAD. Instead, she had it take a different path than Dancing Rain to get a more comprehensive view of her surroundings. As a result, the stalagmites no longer blocked her vision. Soo Much-ung had a complete grasp of Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's location. Lee Boyuan once again tried to use Dancing Rain's dead angle to get to another stalagmite. A crosshair lit up at his feet. By the time he noticed it, it was too late. A heat-seeking missile crashed to the ground, and the ensuing mushroom cloud engulfed him. Dancing Rain came out from behind the stalagmite, her cannon aimed at the mushroom cloud, ready to shoot. Suddenly, a formless power grasped onto her, and she was sucked into the mushroom cloud. Cloud-grasping fist. Soo Much-ung had figured out what it was. The mushroom cloud dispersed. Chi was swirling around the palms of Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's palms. From his stance, wasn't that the Chi Master's cloud-grasping fist? In the previous fight, Zhang Boteo's plans had been ruined by Soo Much-ung's electronic eye. In this fight, Soo Much-ung's plans were ruined by Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's cloud-grasping fist. The crowd erupted into cheers. Samsara's fans had been worried for Lu Boyuan because they thought that Suma Chung had complete control over the situation. They hadn't expected a sudden reversal. How did he do it? The stadium's electronic screen did a replay, showing what Lu Boyuan had done. When the heat-seeking missile descended, Lu Boyuan had no intentions of dodging. He immediately activated reinforced iron bones. Even though this heat-seeking missile dealt heavy damage to him, because of his super armor, he wasn't sent flying away. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain used the explosion as cover for his cloud-grasping fist. No matter how many eyes Suma Chung had, she couldn't have known about Chaotic Cloudy Monadon's counterattack. Lu Boyuan had predicted that Suma Chung's Dancing Rain would expose herself in order to make follow-up attacks. Sure enough, Dancing Rain came out from hiding. He immediately grabbed her, and in the blink of an eye, Dancing Rain was pulled in front of Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. The distance between the two sides was now 0. Spinning throw. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's movements were incomparably fluid. After pulling Dancing Rain in front of him, he grasped onto her firmly, twisted his body, and threw her into the air. At the same time, he also jumped into the air upside down. His legs wrapped around Dancing Rain's neck. Aerial twist. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain flipped around, sending Dancing Rain crashing to the ground. The grappler's relentless tossing had just begun. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1600. Tank. Audio source. WuShoWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1600. Tank. Translator. Gnome Yummy. Editor. Gnome Yummy. Spinning throw. Aerial twist. Two skills in quick succession. Dancing Rain's health dropped in chunks like an elevator going down. However, the combo counter was only 2. For combos, grapplers were in an even worse situation than spell-based classes like elementalists, witches, spellblades. This was because of how grab skills worked. Other classes could rely on their experience and instinct to find a way to break out of a combo. But since grappler grabs could not broken out of, if grapplers could combo, then there would be no counterplay. Long combos were very difficult to pull off with spell-based classes like elementalists and witches. However, long combos were impossible for grapplers. Let alone against a pro player, grappler combos were extremely limited even against a motionless sandbag. As a result, when looking at a grappler, statistics on combos were completely ignored. Using a dot attack to increase the combo count wasn't considered a combo, and chained together skills couldn't be done by grapplers. Grapplers had to rely on reads to perform inescapable combos that the system didn't count. Aerial twist. Dancing Rain was ruthlessly thrown towards the ground. It was hard not to think of the character as the player. It was as if Suma Chung had been thrown towards the ground headfirst. Thinking of how Suma Chung's beautiful face would look like afterwards, even the Samsara's fans couldn't help but sigh. Lu Boyuan obviously didn't care. As soon as Chaotic Cloudy Mountain landed on the ground, he rolled, and then stood up. As for Dancing Rain, knockdowns from grabs could not be quick recovered. She could only wait until her face slammed into the ground. However, Dancing Rain didn't immediately stand up. She lay on the ground and turned, aiming her cannon at Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. Boom! Light flashed. Suma Chung's response showed her experience against grapplers. No matter how she got back onto her feet, her opponent would have a way to counter it. She had to attack first or use some other method to disrupt him before he reached her. Suma Chung had experience playing against grapplers, but Lu Boyuan had taken her experience into consideration. Light flashed. A missile shot out, but Chaotic Cloudy Mountain suddenly dropped down. You think I can't hit you if you stay flat on the ground? How could Glory have such a huge flaw? Ground sweeping attacks were meant for these situations. Even basic attacks had a ground sweeping effect if they landed. Lying flat on the ground and not getting up wasn't an invincible buff. Elbow drop. Dancing Rain wasn't getting up, so Chaotic Cloudy Mountain might as well get down to the ground too. His elbow went straight for Dancing Rain's throat. Su Muchung had been waiting for Lu Boyuan to attack. Dancing Rain rolled to dodge the strike. Suddenly, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain stretched out his arm. Elbow drop was cancelled, and his hand grabbed onto her. One hand grab. Dancing Rain was suddenly pulled back. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain fell to the ground, but Dancing Rain was dragged back to the ground as well. In one fluid movement, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain rolled and got up. On the other hand, because Dancing Rain was knocked down by the skill, she was slightly slower. This was the foothold that grapplers need to continue their attacks after grabbing an opponent. As for the side that was grabbed, breaking out from this hold was the key to taking back the initiative. And this was much more difficult for long-ranged classes like launchers. As a class that was extremely bad at close combat, having a grappler close in meant that she was already halfway to losing. Su Muchung need to bring back victory from defeat. Roll. Dancing Rain immediately tried to get up. This wasn't the smartest choice, but on occasion, choosing the bad option could catch the opponent off guard, making it a good option. But unfortunately, Lu Boyuan wasn't caught off guard. After Chaotic Cloudy Mountain got back onto his feet, he immediately locked onto what choices Dancing Rain could do to get up. Lu Boyuan never overlooked the options that seemed bad and that no good player would choose to do. Ground toss. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain planned on pinning her back to the ground. Just when he was about to grab Dancing Rain's head, he suddenly heard a loud boom. Fire and smoke flashed from beneath Dancing Rain, immediately sending her to the left. She had used the recoil from her shot to bounce away. He missed. He missed his grab. He immediately rushed forward to try again, but the moment Dancing Rain dodged the grab, she aimed her cannon towards him. Boom, boom, boom. 3 anti-tank missiles at such a close range. These 3 missiles aimed towards 3 different points. It could be seen that she had complete mastery over this low-level skill. Dodge. Lu Boyuan had been ready for an attack, but the AoE covered by these 3 missiles had been outside of his expectations. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain tried to dodge, but he was still hit by one of them in the end. The explosion pushed him back. He had been wary of her attacks, yet he still hadn't been able to dodge in time. This time, Su Muchung had blocked Lu Boyuan through pure technical skill. At this distance, Lu Boyuan wasn't able to keep up. With one of the missiles hitting, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain lost the initiative. The distance between the two sides started pulling apart, and a distance of 2 or 3 steps was already too far for Chaotic Cloudy Mountain to grab Dancing Rain. Dancing Rain hadn't completely gotten back onto her feet, but she was still able to leap back. The distance of 2 steps became 4 steps. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had finally steadied himself and immediately rushed forward. But then, Dancing Rain's cannon flashed again. I can't back down. If he were 10 or 20 steps away, Lu Boyuan might not have forced it. But the two sides were only 3 or 4 steps away. Even though he couldn't grab her at this distance, it was still favorable for him. He couldn't use grappler skills, but launchers were greatly restricted too. Their weakness of a slow firing speed was fully exposed, and there was no threat of combos from them. Forward. Lu Boyuan didn't hesitate. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain dodged. He had his body sway left and right irregularly as he charged forward to meet the attack. This wasn't a read. At the same time, Su Muchung had no way of reading his irregular swaying either. This was a gamble. At this distance, it was impossible for Chaotic Cloudy Mountain to react once the artillery shell was fired. Dancing Rain didn't have time to make any precise calculations either. One attack. Everything depended on this one attack. If this attack hit, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain would be forced back and the distance would widen even farther. If the attack missed, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain would close the distance, and Dancing Rain would once again be within his grab range. Would the attack hit? The entire stadium went silent. Everyone watched as Chaotic Cloudy Mountain swayed left and right as he ran towards Dancing Rain. Dancing Rain aimed steady, yet there was no pull of the rigger. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Although she was also retreating, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain moved much faster than her. She would soon be caught, yet she seemed to be waiting. What was she waiting for? Close. Reach out. Lu Boyuan hadn't expected Su Mucheng to not do anything. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had closed in, his hand reaching towards her. Even if she attacked now, he should still be able to grab her, right? Probably. Right? Just before he grabbed onto her, her cannon suddenly lit up with a bright blue light. Not good. Lu Boyuan realized it, but it was too late. There was no explosion. It was just a sudden release of energy. The artillery shell flew out slowly, but it was flashing with blue light, crackling like lightning. X1 extruder. At the last moment, Su Mucheng had Dancing Rain used X1 extruder. It was a rare launcher skill with CC. Was this a read? A setup? No. It was another show of technical prowess. X1 extruder gave off light when used that warned the opponent. It also moved rather slowly. If she had used it immediately, even at a distance of 3 or 4 steps, Lu Boyuan would have easily dodged it. If it missed, Su Mucheng wouldn't have a second chance. Launchers had low attack speed. This attack speed wasn't referring to how fast the missiles flew, but rather the amount of time it took for them to reload and shoot again. Whether it was a basic attack or a skill, it required reloading. Launchers were slow because of this reloading process. No matter how fast your hands were, it wouldn't matter. The only way to speed up this reloading process was by wearing equipment that increased attack speed. Launchers couldn't combo at such a close distance because of this reason. Once they fired a shot, by the time they fired the next one, the opponent would have already closed in. As a result, there was only one chance. Su Mucheng let Chaotic Cloudy Mountain get near her. She waited until he was about to grab her before launching an X1 extruder. Attack speed couldn't be changed through faster inputs. However, the input was what gave the command to use the skill. The faster the command was completed, the earlier the skill would be used. An X1 extruder one step away. Su Mucheng relied on this daring move to strike Lu Boyuan. There was nothing Lu Boyuan could do. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was immediately sucked into the X1 extruder and then sent flying away. He could only watch Dancing Rain move farther and farther away. The effects of X1 extruder could not be disrupted. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1601 True Assault. Audio source, WuxaWorldAudiobook.com. Chapter 1601 True Assault. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. For both Lu Boyuan and Su Mucheng, distance was their advantage. Distance would be what decided the win. Seeing Chaotic Cloudy Mountain getting blown farther and farther away from Dancing Rain, all of the Samsara fans felt their hearts sink. Su Mucheng's Dancing Rain set up a mounted gun again. She had used this level 75 launcher skill to great effect countless times in the playoffs. This skill restricted her character's movements but greatly increased her attack power. It represented a powerful assault with the intent to fight a bloody battle with the opponent. X1 extruder's final landing position was at the perfect firing line distance for Su Mucheng. When the X1 extruder exploded, the artillery barrage from mounted gun arrived. Launchers were most threatening when their targets were at their firing line, and it had already been shown that Su Mucheng's firing line was very flexible. It wasn't just a single dot or a line. It encompassed an area. Whether you move forward, backward, left, or right, you would still be inside. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was engulfed by the artillery fire. His zero-distance close-range character wasn't able to counterattack. He could only run away and dodge. Novel. But where should he run to? Should he go forward or backwards? This was the trickiest part about Su Mucheng's firing line. You could go forward, but you wouldn't know if you could get close to her under such a heavy barrage without dying. You could go backwards, but you wouldn't know if you could actually retreat far away enough to a safe place. Long distance was the domain of launches. It wasn't something that grapplers could touch. He was trapped inside Sumo Chung's desired firing line. Lu Boyuan didn't get discouraged. Advance. Retreat. He found a third option, an option that was only possible in this map. Sprint, jump, roll. It was hard to move around amidst the barrage of artillery shells, but he was still moving. He wasn't locked into place by Dancing Rain's assault. The stalagmite up AEAD was his goal. He wanted to run over there and take cover. Once he was able to catch his breath, there would be more opportunities laying in wait. Lu Boyuan acted on his plans. Chaotic cloudy mountain rushed towards that stalagmite. Sumo Chung quickly saw what Lu Boyuan intended. It seemed like Dancing Rain would need to make adjustments to keep up pressure after Chaotic Cloudy Mountain reached the stalagmite. But Sumo Chung didn't make any. Dancing Rain continued to use her mounted gun and the buffs it provided. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's health dropped rapidly, but he wouldn't die before he reached that stalagmite. Did Sumo Chung have a way to burst him down? It was hard not to think of this question. Even though Sumo Chung was a high DPS class, she didn't brute force things. She would often set up subtle traps that were only understood after being caught inside. Beox Novel. Pang Lin and Li Yibo looked at one another. They wanted to say something, but were too afraid to say it, fearing that their faces would get slapped. They didn't dare make any predictions for any of the players today, let alone someone like Sumo Chung who was so close to Ye Xiu. Just this relationship alone scared them. Let's wait and see. The two called for everyone not to ask them and instead wait to see it for themselves. And so everyone watched. The Samsara fans were worried and anxious. The happy fans were filled with energy and hope. 90%. 80%, 70%, 60%. Because Lu Boyuan had held the upper hand at the start of the fight, Dancing Rain hadn't been able to deal much damage to him. As a result, most of the damage had been dealt starting from this moment. Starting from around 90%, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain's health dropped in chunks as he approached the stalagmite. Not enough, no. That was what everyone was thinking. However, Sumo Chung had only now retracted her mounted gun. No, to be more precise, her mounted gun's duration was up. She hadn't cancelled it. Dancing Rain moved and began chasing Chaotic Cloudy Mountain. But because she had been attacking from a fixed spot previously, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain had moved away from the center of her firing line. Even though she could still reach him, her attack rate couldn't compare to before and she couldn't restrict his movements. As a result, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain began moving much faster than before. Soon, he was next to the stalagmite. Then, he circled around behind it. If Dancing Rain wanted to attack him, she would need to go around in a huge circle to get to a different angle. That was it. The people who had been worried about Lu Boyuan felt like their worries had been for nothing. As for the people who had their hopes up for Sumo Chung, their hopes were destroyed. This, Pan Lin and Li Yibo stuttered. They had been too afraid to make any statements when she set up a mounted gun. Now that they saw that nothing ended up happening with it, they were still too afraid to say anything. Everything else seemed to be a profound mystery, and the two didn't know where to start. The fight suddenly stopped. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain, now hiding behind the stalagmite, had 42% of his health left. He had taken tons of damage escaping from Sumo Chung's firing line. After all, Dancing Rain had set up a mounted gun. All of her attacks had been drastically buffed. but he was able to escape. He had won an opportunity to turn things around. He likely would not have had as good of an outcome if he had advanced or retreated. Lu Boyuan was thankful for choosing the third option. As for Su Mucheng, from the eyes of the viewers, she had simply been trying to deal as much damage as possible. It didn't seem as if she had any intentions of stopping him from reaching the stalagmite, nor did it seem like she had any ideas for what would come afterwards. This shouldn't be a mistake that a pro player made. People who like conspiracy theories suspected that she was intentionally sandbagging. But thinking of Su Mucheng's relationship with Yi Xu and how she had practically volunteered to join a grassroots team like Happy, sandbagging didn't make any sense. What is she thinking? Whether it was the fans who supported Samsara or the fans who supported Lu Boyuan, they all felt a little bit suspicious. Anyone with a bit of glory knowledge would have given up on a bit of damage from mounted gun to chase after Lu Boyuan's chaotic cloudy mountain. No. The camera focused on Dancing Rain. In this situation, Pan Lin and Li Yibo had to say something. Lu Boyuan has successfully escaped from Su Mucheng's firing line. Pan Lin summarized what had happened. Su Mucheng's offense was very powerful because she didn't stop using her mounted gun. Li Yibo wasn't going to fall behind. But why didn't she stop using her mounted gun? WuxaWorldAudio.com. Pan Lin asked. Yes, why didn't she? Li Yibo said. You too. Someone from behind them shouted at them. People would usually be more respectful of Li Yibo since he was a guest commentator, but right now, Li Yibo was being yelled at along with Pan Lin. The director's patience was reaching its limits. If Su Mucheng had given up on her mounted gun earlier and chased after chaotic cloudy mountain, do you think she would be in a better spot, Coach Li? Pan Lin could only move on to a different topic. On the surface, yes. Li Yibo said. Okay. Pan Lin nodded his head. But for some reason, she didn't do that. Li Yibo said. Yes. Pan Lin nodded his head again. What was this reason? Everyone wanted to know what this reason was. We'll see. Li Yibo said. Pan Lin wanted to cry. To think Li Yibo would still use his trademark escape tactic at this crucial moment. Pan Lin was wondering whether "we'll see" would become a trending meme tomorrow. Would people use that to make fun of their incompetence? In any case, the words had been said. Li Yibo couldn't say it again. Pan Lin didn't want to bring trouble onto himself, so he might as well just let it be. The camera focused on Dancing Rain. Nothing unexpected that was worthy of a "let's wait and see" happened. Su Mucheng just calmly packed up her mounted gun and then started moving horizontally to get to a different angle. Everything was calm, as if none of the previous crazy attacks had happened. It was as if the match had reset back to when the two came across each other the first time. Chaotic cloudy mountain had taken cover behind a stalagmite, while Su Mucheng started searching for him bit by bit. Everything was the same as before. The only difference was that chaotic cloudy mountain was at 42% health, while Su Mucheng's Dancing Rain was at 87% health. 42% versus 87%. There was a difference in health between the two compared to before. Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was losing, and right now, Chaotic Cloudy Mountain was far away from Dancing Rain. The situation seemed to favor Su Mucheng. Pan Lin and Li Yibo were at least able to make this sort of analysis. At the end, Li Yibo suddenly blanked out. A thought suddenly sprung into his mind as he watched Dancing Rain's calm movements. Could it be? Su Mucheng knew that even now, she held the advantage. There had been no need to use that opportunity before to kill off Chaotic Cloudy Mountain in one go. That was why she hadn't cancelled her mounted gun, instead dealing as much damage as she could. She could still be calm now because she had a huge lead. There was no need to be nervous or worried. It was Lu Boyuan who would be feeling those emotions. The Lu Boyuan who was still rejoicing that he had escaped from Su Muchung's firing line. He would probably soon realize that escaping wasn't anything worth celebrating. Su Muchung wouldn't let him easily recover from the lead that she had gotten. Su Muchung was confident in this, and this confidence was her true assault. End chapter.